Turkey has launched new operations against the PKK and its YPG offshoots in northern Syria and Iraq. Dubbed Operation Close Sword, the airstrikes come just a week after the terror attack in Istanbul that left 6 people dead and dozens wounded. The operation was carried out over the weekend against bases that were used by the YPG terror group. Turkey's defense ministry said more than 80 sites were hit across northern Syria and Iraq, including bunkers, weapon depots, and terror training camps. Meanwhile, the YPG terror group has launched several rocket attacks against Turkey's eastern province of Gaziantep, killing at least 3 people on Monday. The rockets were reportedly fired from Kobani, just across the border, where the YPG currently operates. The attack follows a similar barrage of rocket fire that the YPG launched over the weekend at Turkey's Kilis province. So is Ankara readying for a wider operation to clear the YPG fully from its border regions? And will ground troops be involved? And for more on Turkey's cross-border operations, joining me now from Istanbul is Tarık Oğuzlu. He is a professor at Istanbul Aydın University. And Necdet Özçelik, he is a security analyst and is joining me from Ankara. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. Necdet, what's the nature of this latest operation? And besides striking terrorist hideouts, what is the ultimate goal of it?
Yeah, as we all observed, the operation was based on the intensive airstrikes, and it was supported by the ground indirect fires, that means artillery fire. And the most important point of this campaign was the simultaneously both in Syria and in Iraq at the same time. So in this sense, we have started to see some sort of paradigm shift in Turkish cross-border military operations, and so the operation Close Syrians that just deterritorialized the PKK in northern Syria. Now we are seeing that this kind of operational scope is extending towards Syria, but in a different nature indeed.
So, Tarık, Turkish President Erdogan has hinted that the air operations against the PKK and YPG targets in southern Syria will be followed by a ground operation. Which regions are likely to be targeted if it happened?
I think most likely the northern part of Syria will be the target of this potential Turkish land operation in the region. Actually, we don't have to name each and every kind of location in this particular context, because the whole area is within the scope of Turkish military operation. But the point I would like to underline is that this Turkish land operation is going to be a kind of follow-up operation of Turkish air strikes. So we have to look this operation from a larger perspective, taking into account air and land dimensions altogether. And most likely this will continue in the months to come, because we already know that the attacks coming from this region towards Turkish territorial security is going to increase. And most likely we are now in the middle of a kind of election season. And we had looked at the background to the past, we could clearly see that such kind of attacks originating from PKK holdouts in the region had intensified whenever we had political elections here in Turkey.
So, Necdet, if I'm not mistaken, Ain al-Arab or Kobani was hit for the first time by a Turkish aerial operation. What's the significance of this, since the U.S. has always been opposed to bombing of this particular area?
These areas are the source of the attacks threatening the Turkish national security. It's indeed it's not the first time that we have seen the Turkish airstrikes in the western part of Ain al-Arab. So there is a specific village named as Rumaka, and the PKK and some Syrian the elements, they are just cooperating there and just carrying some artillery. Launch rocket system attacks and also mortar attacks against Turkish territory. And this is not new indeed, but this kind of operation should not be understood as a surgical operation. This is going to be continuing maybe for months. So at this point, yes, a must is for the land operation that we need to talk. But the military decision makers are just making their the operational calculus, and the political decision makers are making their own, the conjunctural international developments and regional one as well. So at this point, it might be a little bit more speculation that the ground operation will follow very soon. But these operations are definitely going to shape the security environment in northern Syria, especially, to pave the way for
Yes.
the future ground operation.
So, Tarek, Turkey's allies, the U.S. and the United States, have both condemned yesterday's terror attack by the YPG in Turkey's south, where 3 civilians were killed and several others were injured. So what do you think the U.S. and Russia positions are towards a possible ground operation into northern Syria?
I think neither Russia nor the United States nor any regional heavyweight in the Middle East will be in a position to argue against Turkey's potential operation in the region, because all key global and regional actors are quite busy with immense internal and external challenges at this particular time. And we also know that this PKK-originated attacks against Turkey had in the past caused great degree of tension in Turkish-American relationship. And I think any American criticism of Turkey's potential operation in the region would not change anything in the context of Turkish-American relationship, because the parties are quite at odds with each other. If we come to Russian position, I think Russia is quite dependent on Turkey's cooperation in the context of the war in Ukraine. So Russia, I think, would find it quite difficult to severely criticize Turkey for this land operation, because Turkey remains to be one of the few countries in global politics to somehow sit on the fence in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine.
So, Necdet, speaking after the launch of the operation, Turkish President Erdogan has indeed criticized Russia for its failure to fulfill its promise to clear out the terrorists in northern Syria as per their 2019 Sochi deal. Why has Russia so far failed to clear that area, and how hard it is to remove the PKK and the YPG from that region?
Yeah, that's a little bit understandable from the Russian perspective, because Russia wants to extend the territorial gain for the Syrian regime, and that's why they do not hesitate to affiliate with the PKK and PYD members. In this sense, President Erdogan is claiming what a rightful thing indeed, and the Russia had already promised that the PKK, PYD members are going to be pushed out of the Russian control area around the northern Aleppo, in Ain al-Arab area and so on, but it did not happen. And it was almost 2 months ago that the chance for a comprehensive ground operation from Turkey was going to be realized, but Russia just gave their words that it was not going to be happen, because they were dealing with the PKK, PYD members over there, but it did not happen, unfortunately.
So, Tarek, the United States has again repeated its concerns over a Turkish operation on the grounds that it could destabilize the region and provide a fertile ground for the Daesh terror organization. How realistic is this?
It's not realistic at all, because we had been in similar situations in the past. Whenever Turkey organized such kind of operations in the West, Americans had come up with similar arguments in such a way to criticize Turkey's operations, but nothing had changed since Turkey, first of all, organized this operation in the summer of 2016, as far as I know. I think Turkey's operation is not going to contribute to emerging a crisis or instability in the region, because Turkey's goal is to provide a degree of stability and predictability, at least concerning the developments in northern part of the country. So all kind of Turkish initiatives aim at targeting this PKK, YPG, YPD affiliated terror attacks against Turkey. It has nothing to do with internal political dynamics in Syria. Let me put this way.
So, Necdet, is Daesh's presence being used as an excuse to stop Turkey from fighting terrorism? Why hasn't the organization been wiped out yet?
Yeah, that's the reality in the field. So the ISIL still exists, especially in the northern part of Syria, under the control of the United States and PYD terrorist organization. So that shows that the ISIL is still used as an excuse to maintain the PYDs and U.S. presence in northeastern Syria. In this sense, this is a fabricated excuse to reinforce the presence of these two, one state actor, the other is the non-state actor, and their affiliation at the same time. So we know that the Deir Zor area is one of the most important hot point for the clash between the ISIL members and the PKK, PYD, and the US military. But the operational concentration have already changed from this area that months ago, and we do not see any important clashes between the PYD and ISIL members at all.
Yes.
So that's not a true argument.
So as for the U.S. position, Tarek, south to the border, U.S. is partnering and providing weapons to the YPG group, which is fighting Turkey. And on the north of the border, it is working with Turkey in NATO bases, protecting the southern flank. I mean, how can you contextualize this situation?
Is a clear example of hypocrisy in the context of great power politics. If you have more than $20 trillion economy, if you are that much powerful in terms of power comparisons, you have the luxury of getting along well, both parties, in such similar cases. But we should not forget the fact that since the year of 1952, Turkey is a member of NATO, and Turkey has developed very pragmatic strategic cooperation with the United States. So it is quite normal for Turkish authorities to expect the Americans come up with some suggestions to work together in defeating Daesh or any other kind of terrorist organization in the region. Turkey is the usual partner, should be the usual partner, expected partner of the United States, rather than this YPG or PKK affiliate groups in the region. This is very much against the logic of NATO membership and NATO alliance.
All right, gentlemen, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.